What is the military?
The military is a war machine. Every single day, we're taught how to kill. When people generally think about the military, it's mostly the guy at the very front, like shooting and doing the very action thing that Hollywood focuses on in movies and stuff. But what people are not thinking as much about is when you come into the military, it's a very different world. You're not entitled to food, to sleep, to say, oh no, I want to go home. No, you can't.
What does the military teach to you?
It's the mindset, because every single thing that you do in the military, if your mindset isn't on point, then you're gonna fail. And if you're gonna fail, then you're gonna die.
What is a hard day that you had in the military?
I've been on guard duty, slept 2 hours. My sergeant came and told me, we have spotted some enemies. I crawled on my stomach in my underwear, and it was -5. And I ended up laying there for 26 minutes. By the time I couldn't use my fingers, I had stopped shaking, because then you're on the way to hypothermia.
How was your mom feeling?
My mother, she was... Man. In her mind, there was just me and dying.
Jens, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you today.
Thank you, bro.
You are a guy that you sort of embody the idea of hardening your mind and doing things that most people think it's impossible. You went from the military to building your character to now having your own business. That's why I'm really excited to have you today. Well, what is the mission you're on today?
Well, the mission I'm on today is to share my thoughts and hopefully create some value for some people who are watching out there. And if I can just help one person change their mindset on life, how you should perceive everything, then I'm walking away a happy man.
I really have to ask a really stupid question now. What is the military?
What is the military?
Yeah.
Well, the military is... The tough way to say it is the military is a war machine. So every single day, we're taught how to kill. And everything is focused on bettering yourself in killing. And it sounds really gruesome. And it is a very, very different life than when you're living in a civilian. So it was also very tough. You know, my family, my civilian friends, they couldn't really relate. But it's such a bubble. Like you're living in there, even if it's, you're sitting inside in a classroom and you have a theory lesson on something, everything is towards a single focus, and that's how to defeat the enemy. And ultimately, that's through killing, So it's a very different life, and you have to be a certain, how do you say that properly? You have to have a certain view on life in order to also be able to withstand it and be in there. Yeah.
What is the qualifications that someone have so he can be accepted in the military? Because I think most people see it as this cool thing in the military, you're the cool guy, tough guy. But what qualifies you to be in the military?
Well, there's actually really low qualifications because the military has so many different roles that needs to be filled out. So when people generally talk about the military or think about the military, it's mostly the guy at the very front, like shooting and doing the very action thing that we also that Hollywood focuses on in movies and stuff. But what people maybe are not thinking as much about is everything that works behind it. There's a whole mechanism of these guys at the front. How do they get food? How do they get shelter? Who is coordinating the strategy? Every single thing has to play into that. So it's like a whole system of how everything is working. And yeah, it is a machine.
Is this something you can learn, or is this something you can teach or learn, or there is something about your drive or something about you as a character that would qualify you, or even if it doesn't qualify you, but to complete missions that you get signed up for? Because how many people quit in the military? Did you have friends before who quit What's the reason they quit? And is it because like some drive that you need to have about your character, or it's not?
Well, that's a really good question, actually, because you can't quit. And that's the whole thing. So when you're in the recruiting phase, so in Denmark, the recruitment phase where we have conscription, and that is 4 months. And in those 4 months, if you're in and you're a woman, then you're able to quit. If you're a man, you're not. So we have conscription. So we have a certain amount of people who need to be in the military in order for us to keep the military running. And, you know, the latest years, there's been so many volunteers that we haven't had a need to sort of pull people in. But every single guy, when they turn 18 in Denmark, they need to go to a military base and they need to actually like draw a number. So sort of like we call it the shit lottery. Because if you have a low number, then and there are not enough volunteers, you just get pulled in. So you get picked up by the military police and, you know, get pulled in. And then you need to go through the recruitment phase. And the recruitment phase is the suck part, you know? Yeah, that's like when you get beaten down and you need to do all of these things that harden you, right? So I was a sergeant, so that also meant that I had to be on the side where I was, we call it shaping people. And when you come in as a civilian and you have all of these societal norms, how do you think about life? What are you entitled to do and what are you entitled to get? When you come into the military, it's a very different world. So what we would always do is we would break people down, and we would do that very consciously. They would have no choice to do all of the things that we said. And that could be, for example, you know, I would drag you through mud for 6 hours, let's say, and like run through the woods. I would make you swim in mud with all your gear. And then you would have to spend the whole night washing and cleaning. If there was like 1 grain of sand, it would not be good enough. And then I would take you out and do it again until you learned to do it well enough. And you would need to be broken so much down that it would sort of be like a clean slate. And people learn that. And the more entitled you feel and the less hardship you have faced during your life until that moment, the harder it is to break someone down. And people hate you. People really, really hate you when you're like really mean to them. They feel that you're mean to them when in reality I'm helping them, because everything, as I was also mentioned before, everything turns into, you know, a single focus. How are we gonna do when we enter a war? And you're not entitled to food when you're on the battlefield and the enemy is close. You're not entitled to sleep. You're not entitled to say, I don't want to do it anymore, because that not only impacts you, but it also impacts your whole platoon. And that means that if one guy says that, another guy has to lift his weight. So let's say we're out and we're platoon would probably be like 21 to 30 people. And then one guy says that, I don't want to do it anymore, or my legs are hurting, I don't want to walk anymore. That would mean that I would have to literally carry him. And let's say I'm already carrying 40 kilos and a rifle, and I haven't slept and I haven't eaten. And then I have to carry this fucking guy who's 100 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah, that has like a really, you know, so you have to be able to carry your weight. And the only way to get there is to not feel that whatever it is that you're going through is unfair. So we need the clean slate, and then we can build them up.
You have been sent to incredible missions that is insane. For the average person who has no idea what your eyes have seen, can you give me a little bit of picture of what these extremes are?
Well, to clarify, very important, I have not been deployed into an active war zone, and it's a very important point. I have been on many, many brutal exercises, both in Denmark and outside, and some I can speak of and some I can't. The thing is that a lot of the things that we were also doing are classified. So, you know, we can't tell certain aspects of what we're doing, because then the perceived enemy would be able to look at that, and then they would be able to shape their strategy according to what our ways of doing warfare is. And, all of the things that we're doing, it takes a long time to sort of plan that, because once you're moving thousands and thousands of people, then you need to have a really, really well thought plan and a way that everyone's moving. And like I said before, it's a machine. So if one link is not working well enough and it's not smooth, then it can crash everything. So we work in a certain way, and if the enemy knows how we're working, they can just, switch to another way, and then we're not in a good position.
I understand. What is a hard day that you had in the military?
A hard day?
Describe a hard day, yeah.
Oh, that's a really good question. Many hard days.
I know.
Yeah, many, many hard days. But the exercises, for sure. Yeah, that's, when I'm sort of telling like stories to my friends and my family and stuff now on this podcast, people have a hard time actually understanding. But I'll try to describe it as detailed as I can, so you sort of get the feeling of being there. Imagine that you wake up on Monday and you go into the barracks at 7, and then you go on an exercise. The next time you're sleeping is Wednesday at noon, and between Monday morning and Wednesday noon, you have maybe walked, let's say, between 70 and 100 kilometers, depending on the exercise, right? You have maybe eaten a protein bar. You have been through several rivers. It's -5. You haven't really slept. Maybe you took a half an hour nap on like the ground while someone was checking if there was enemy in the territory, and then we could move further. That's a hard day. And especially when you're outside all of the time. And, the weather can be your friend and your enemy. And if it's cold and you're wet, that fucking sucks. Like, so bad. And you don't have the option to say, I don't want to go anymore. You don't have the option to say, oh no, I want to go home. No, you can't. Because everything that we do is simulated towards how would it work if we were in war. And if you're in Ukraine right now and the Russians are coming and you're saying, oh, I want to go home. Well, you can't. You can't go home, because then the guy next to you has to fight twice as hard. And, that'll tear everything down. So every single link, every single mindset needs to be in place for everything to work.
Does it get easy with time? Does it, like, your first day of doing these exercises, this is really extreme. This is something that maybe you have a realization that you would never think that your body can do stuff like that. How did you feel on your first day doing this? Realizing that your body can actually survive with 3 days of exercising and one protein bar.
Man, I felt awful. And it's the same. We just came from a CrossFit session. First, brutal. That was brutal,
man.
And, it was very, very hard. But the first time that you did a CrossFit session, you were like destroyed,
Absolutely.
And of course, it's still hard, but you also learn how to deal with it. And that's the important thing. So it's the same if you do a cold plunge. If on day 1, it's really, really cold. On day 100, it's also going to be really cold, but you learn how to deal with it. You learn how to deal with the stress. And that's the important thing. Like, I can tell you in like extreme detail my first night on an exercise. I can remember it so clearly.
I'm so interested.
It had such an impact. And the way that I thought life was, oh man, I was in for a new world, And it was winter. I was woken up. I'd slept 2 hours. I had to be on guard duty at night, which means that you're standing in a hole that you've dug. So it's only your head above. So, I'm 190 centimeters. So I had to dig a hole in the ground in the winter. So it's also freezing and snowing. And dig a hole, it has to be 180. And then you have to be able to stand several people in there. So it has to be like a really, really big hole, right? You dig that, and it's during the night when it's turning dark. Then you have to stand there for like several hours in the night to look out. So everyone's constantly on guard. Some people sleep, some people are on guard. And I've been on guard duty, slept 2 hours. Then I was woken up like 5. It was snowing. It's just in my sleeping bag. It's like super comfortable. It's like really warm. And then I just like got dragged out, and telling my sergeant came and told me that we had, it's called a silent alarm. So we have spotted some enemies, and that means that everyone has to go out and get in position. So we have a 360 degree, like outward facing rifles, you know. So I opened my sleeping bag, took my rifle, took my my gear, which is like where you have the magazines, the ammunition, water, and so on. And then I crawled on my stomach in my underwear, just only my underwear, my rifle and my gear, and it was snowing and it was -5. Crawled out into the hole, or to my own hole, where I could like lay on my stomach, and I just waited. And I was the only one who did it in their underwear, because I hadn't listened properly the night before, because I was tired, to say like, put on your uniform, you know, because you can't stay in -5 when it's like snowing. I was literally only in my boxer shorts, right?
Wow.
And I ended up laying there for 26 minutes before everyone was like out and doing their securing. And by the time I couldn't use my fingers, I couldn't do anything. And I was at that point where I had stopped shaking. And then, you know, like, then you need to do something, because then you're on the way to hypothermia. So that is very, very clear to that day. Yeah, I can.
What does the military teach to you, instead of not making excuses and like your discipline? What is something outside of these areas that the military has taught you?
Well, everything that you do in the military, you can't really, like, physically, you can't translate that into civilian life, you know, because I've drilled thousands and thousands of time how to enter a building with a rifle and throw a hand grenade and shoot an RPG and all of this, but I can't use that in civilian life or in business, you know. So the thing that I can use is the mindset of how to look at things and how to view a task and how to approach that. Because every single thing that you do in the military, if your mindset isn't on point, then you're going to fail. And if you're going to fail, then you're going to die. So it's really, really intense. And then some people might say, well, it's only an exercise, it's only simulation. But the more you do it, the more real it feels. And the guys that I was training with, they had almost all of them had already been deployed. So they had been deployed to Iraq and different places around the world where, you know, they had been shot at, and they had been, you know, shot with artillery and all of this. So everything is 100% real for them. And when you're training, if you don't do it well in training, you're not going to do well in combat. So we had this saying, train as you fight. So train hard, train like you would actually do in the situation, and then that's also going to translate. Because let's say we're on a field and someone starts shooting at us. You know, if it's on an exercise, they're going to be shooting blanks, because of course, yeah, you know, we're not going to die in an exercise, right? And some people might just like lay on the ground, where if someone was actually shooting at you, you would jump in that ditch or in that water next to you. But it's very, very hard to do that when it's like snowing, it's -5, you know that you're not going to be dry for the next 3 days, and then you have to pull yourself together to jump in that water. But if you don't do it now, then your muscle memory isn't going to be as fast when you do it in combat, or you have to do it in combat. And then that might, you know, turn into an unpleasant experience for your family when you're not there anymore. Yeah.
I think this helps a lot more for, it's like you're doing a lot of multitasking. I think the military has a lot of multitasking. You're not doing one thing. You're guarding something and you're trying to do a mission, and how did you go about your day and you just realized you do something, you're like, oh, I got this from the military. It's like maybe you're impressed by your performance on something, maybe some like action that you have done, and you're like, wow, I got that from the military.
Well, how I approach almost anything in life. And if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it 100%. Because if I'm wasting my time doing several things, and when I'm actually doing it, I'm not doing it 100%, then it doesn't matter. Then I could be doing other stuff, you know? And when I was in the military, a normal day for me would be, I woke up a couple of hours before I had to work. So I woke up at 5, then went to go for a run or weightlifting. Then all day I would be outside in the forest fighting. And, you know, that's running around with a rifle and gear that weighs 25 kilos. So also like a really active day. And then when I came home, I would either go swimming or I would do another sort of workout. So I would like work out twice a day, every day. And, you know, being active all of the day. And the way that I thought about it was that when I enter combat, I need to be on my A game. Because if I'm not, that's going to hurt my family. It's going to hurt everything around me. And my mother, she was, man, she did not take it really well when I said that I wanted to join the military or I was like going forward. Because in her mind, that was just me getting sent to war and dying, you know. And I didn't want to let my mother down. So I had to be on my A game. And I had to make sure that I was the best guy. And no matter what, no matter if it was shooting, running, staying longer hours, not eating, no matter what, I had to be the best. Because that would make sure that I would come home to my family.
There is a stereotype of people who think that you are the man you are today because of some traumas that you had in your childhood that made you this resilient guy that you are today. How was your childhood back then? How did you come to care about the military as a child?
Well, I didn't care much for the military when I was a child, to be completely honest with you. And yeah, to be quite frank, I had a really nice childhood. I had a loving mother, I had a loving father, a really nice little sister. I grew up in the suburbs. We didn't have that many issues with it, really anything. I had it quite easy in school. I was good at sports, you know. Like every single thing was just it was just like given. It was just easy. And then I came to realize that in order for me to be strong, I have to go through hardship. And, you know, as you also mentioned, some people who like have to go through hard things, you know, they come out stronger. And if you had a difficult childhood, if you had a lot of struggles that you had to deal with, then that hardens you and you can use that going forward. And if you're in a position like me where, you know, I had it quite easy, then it's very easy to just stay in the comfort zone and not try to build you further. But I was very discontent with that. Like normal is not good enough, not for me. And I'm not judging people who, you know, are content with their life, but I will always seek to better myself and be the best that I can be for me and for the people around me. And that's like the most important thing. Like that I, as a man, can provide everything that is needed, that I can go in and I can be the provider for my family. If I'm with my wife, future wife and kids, that I can go in and something happens like purely physical. Some guys want to rob us, they want to do something. I need to be capable of handling that. If there is something financial, I need to be able to handle that. Whatever it is, I'm the fucking man, you know? And if I had easy times, then I'm going to be weak. I don't know if you heard it, but I heard it from Joe Rogan. I don't think it was him that said it first, but I love this quote, and it correlates with everything that I just said. How is it again? Easy times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. And strong men create easy times. And I knew that I had easy times. But I was not going to be a weak man. Hell no. So I sought out the military in order for me to build a base of being strong. So my masculine energy, my physical capabilities, they could handle everything that I was going to be facing later on in life. So I always go for the challenge where if I see that I need to better myself in an area, I'm going to go for that. And now I have such a good foundation of my mindset, my physical capabilities, everything. And that's set now. And now I moved down to Bali. I met you. Very happy for that. And now I'm widening my, how to say that? I'm building another pillar in my life. Yeah.
So how your parents' mindset shifted from the first day where it is like, hi, Mom, I want to go to the military, to the person you are today. How's your mom feeling about this? Is she like you did the best thing ever and she feels like you're a very different person? Or it still feels like these things that, our parents would feel like high risk, low reward? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How did your parents' mindset shifted from that?
Well, they had a hard time accepting that I was going into the military. As I mentioned before, we have conscription where you're forced to go in. And my dad was forced and he denied it. So you can be a military, I don't know how to directly translate it, but it's a denier of coming into the military. So he was very much against the military. And my mom, of course, also against the military. The reason that I came in to begin with was that I saw that what this could give me would be something that I could use for the rest of my life. And if you go where everyone else is going, you're always going to be on the most crowded road. And if everyone's going to uni and I don't have a thing where I really, really want to do something at uni, I'm not going to go there. I need to look at my own life and how can I move in a direction that benefits me and not just the opinions of others in society of what you should do. I want to follow me, like I know you've also done, and I love that.
You mentioned that you've had two steps in your life, where the first step is being in the military, and now the second step is building your business and buying a one ticket to Bali. What made you have this realization of quitting the military and pursuing something else?
It was the realization of where I was headed and where I would need to be in order to have all of these pillars filled out in my life. So where I was headed in the military, I would have had to be there for a long time. And that would mean that when I was in my mid-30s or let's say 40s, I would still be in the military. And I'm just going to let you know, the military pay is nothing to speak of. It is very, very shit. Yes.
I thought it's highly paid because it's high risk. No.
Oh man, I would love it if it was that way. Yeah, for sure. No, but it's actually in Denmark, at least. I can speak for Denmark. In Denmark, it's the lowest paid profession in all of society. Yes, it's beneath. Let's say lower paid is it's beneath cleaning, teachers, what is that called in English?
Doctors.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. But people who take care of kids.
Babysitters.
Really? Like daycare. Yeah. But the military is the lower. Yeah, for sure. So you don't do it for the money. You do it for the brotherhood. And you do it for what it can give you in your mind. And I felt like I needed to get that sorted because I had an easy life. And then once I had that sorted, I could move further. And also it gives you incredible experiences. Like, flying a helicopter, shooting an RPG. It's
Damn.
It's fun, bro.
Video game life.
Yeah. It's like, boys,
Wow.
let's go, man.
Now, for the life you have now in Bali, where you're working on your business, you're completely focused. This is a new era in your life, another step in your life. How does it feel with these little tasks that you have to do with like sending emails, working, reading this book? If you compare it to the tasks that you had to do in the military, how does that feel? Do you feel like sometimes this is just like really weak and most people can't literally focus for some like weak stuff? You know, you can just like take a book, read a book, or watch this course and you're going to learn and make money instead of, you know, serving your country.
I know exactly what you mean. And yes, it is weak. It is easy, you know? And I'm not saying that people are weak that are choosing not to be in the military, because it's just a different life, right? But you need to have hardship in your life if you want to be strong. And of course, it's not on everyone's agenda to also seek to be strong. But I feel like as a man, you need to go through hardship to be able to be the provider, to be the strong masculine figure in your family going forward. So you need to go through hardship. And if you're not seeking that out and you're only seeking comfort, then you'll never be strong. You'll never live up to your potential. So you need that. And, you know, it's funny because sometimes I catch myself thinking, oh man, now I have to send out all of these emails and, you know, how do I write this? And then I think back to what I used to do. I'm like, oh man, I actually have food and I actually have water right here. I have a coconut. I'm sitting on a beach. It's 30 degrees. What the hell am I saying? You know? And then it's all good again. But
complete.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's good to reflect on where you've like the road that you've been on and where you are. And it's super important to appreciate and be grateful for where you are. I was also really grateful about being in the military. Also, when I was there, a lot of people, they tend to always look forward and say, when I reach this, I'll be happy. When I get this, I'll, have achieved this, and then I'll mean that I'll be happy. But it's so important to enjoy the journey, because life is the journey, Yeah,
the journey is the goal.
Exactly. The journey is the goal. And if you're not enjoying the journey, then you're just postponing happiness. I don't want to postpone happiness. I want to be happy now. I want to be satisfied. I want to be grateful. I want to be around good people. I want to feel that I have purpose in my life. And the decisions that I make also reflect that. So I don't want to waste time on doing things that doesn't matter. So, like, I'm not watching Netflix, for example. If I'm scrolling on social media, it's for inspiration for what I can do myself. And I don't want to just waste time, And it's so important that you use the time that you have, because when you're going to be 50, you're going to be wishing that you were 25 again, or 26,
Mm.
And
happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you, bro.
26 today. I just noticed.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, 26, man. Closer to 50 than 0. Damn.
But you're in the best place in the world now.
Hell yeah.
Why did you choose Bali?
Well, I had a good friend of ours, Lucas. Yeah. And I was speaking with him, and, he was telling me about his life. Oh, man. It sounded good. It sounded good. The Bali life is a good life. And there was a lot of components to it, obviously, that you don't just make a decision like that, You have to think about it. But it was also a fairly easy choice, because I'm open to risk, No risk, no reward.
No reward.
Yeah. And I was 25, and I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have any limitations. Like, I didn't own a house. I didn't have kids, nothing. Besides the relationship with my family that wanted me to stay in Denmark, of course, and my friends. But, life is now, and I have to move now. And I have to take all of these risks now, because then I can gain tremendously for it. And also, when you live in Bali, it's a good life. You're happy. You're around people who care about life, who live with intention about life. You know, the weather is much better than Denmark.
Lucas is on a journey to bring all of his friends to Bali.
Yeah.
Every time it's like, I have 2 friends coming next week. I have 2 friends coming.
Yeah, that's perfect.
He's promoting the Bali life. I think it's because I met him the first time I met him through Rasmus, and he was like, maybe I'll stay for 2 months. I have a visa for 6 months, but maybe 3 months I'm going to Spain. And now it's almost a year for him. And it's all about the easy life. You mentioned before the idea of enjoying the journey. Now I have 2 mindsets that most people have. The mindset of, I'm going to force myself to work so hard because I just watched a motivational video. I really need to force myself and be disciplined and work really hard. Or the other mindset of enjoying the journey. You gotta not take it easy, but like make things fun. Which mindset resonates with you more? Is it the forcing yourself to work really hard or enjoying the journey? If you're enjoying the journey, how do you make it fun?
It's a really good question. I like that. Yeah. The way that I view it is that motivation it's for one day. Motivation is nothing. Discipline is everything. If you can't discipline your mind to do things that you don't want to do, you will never get anywhere in life. Let's take an example. If you want to be strong, you're really motivated. You watch a video of David Goggins, you go for a run, lift some weights. Then the next day you're like, oh, I'm tired. Then you don't go. Then you won't be strong. You need to be able to have calloused your mind. So you have a tough mind where your mind is stronger than your emotions. And you can say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do the thing now, even though I don't want to, because I know how important it is. And that's also the way I look at it. When I work out 1 or twice a day, and I don't want to work out all the time, you know. Sometimes I just, you know, I would love to lay on the beach with a coconut. That would be way better. But I force myself to go because I know how important it is. And I force myself to have more meetings, to be around more good people. Let's say last night I wanted to go to bed, but I had a chance to be around a guy who I just met, and now it's going to be turning into a good friendship. And he's a really cool guy. So even though I wanted to go to bed, I wanted to sleep, you know, even if, you know, it sounds easy. Oh yeah, I'll just stay up for a few more hours. But it was really important for our relationship that I actually spent some time with him. And you always have to be ready to push yourself, even though you don't want to. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy life. Because let's say I don't want to go to the gym, and I get my ass out of bed, I go to the gym anyway. When I'm in there, you know, I'm at the gym, I might as well work hard. Then after I've been to the gym, I feel amazing, you know? And, you know, it's in your brain. Dopamine, serotonin, all of these things. And I know that I did something that I didn't want to do. I know that I'm going to be stronger. I know that I'm going to be more healthy. And I know that's going to make me better tomorrow than I was today. And that's the most important thing. Bettering yourself every day. Doing the little steps that can make sure that in the long run, you actually reach what you want to reach, you know?
I learned from Rasmus, a good friend of ours. He always say you would never find someone regret going to the gym. He would literally work so hard until he's stressed. Then he's like, I'm going to the gym. He literally goes for 20 minutes. And he always comes back with like another energy. But the thing with this discipline and hard work and forcing yourself to do stuff versus enjoying the journey, I kind of feel like I'm in the middle, where sometimes I feel like I need to push myself and I go really extreme and hard and I pull up monk mode and I really like, I stop networking. I don't want to talk to anyone, and I like literally work so hard. And then I wouldn't say stressed. I don't know what stress is, but like I feel like sometimes I'm so hard on myself that I'm like, it's all about enjoying the journey. Then I switch another mode where, I need to make this fun. So I would put on some music. I would, go to another co-working space or change the work zone until the point where I'm feeling uncomfortable, like feeling comfortable again, where like I'm doing easy stuff. I'm like, oh, really? I'm just working 4 hours today, 6 hours today. I need to push myself again. So I find myself on this wheel where I'm like, sometimes I'm on the mindset of like enjoying the journey. Sometimes I'm pushing myself harder. Don't you feel the same way about this? Or you're always into like one?
No, it's impossible to always be that, of course. And if I said that, I would be lying. And anyone who says that is lying. And even though I mentioned David Goggins before, David Goggins, for those that don't know that, he's a Navy SEALs, or former Navy SEAL, and ultramarathon runner, author, speaker.
He's a beast, man.
He is a beast. Yeah, like he's also described as the toughest man alive. And he's a character. And he also explained sometimes, he goes running every day. And sometimes he sits for 30 minutes looking at his running shoes. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. But he ends up going anyway, because it's important that you're consistent. It doesn't mean that he's not enjoying it once he goes running. A lot of people also, they already know this, the first step is the hardest. Once you're going, it's like you're in a flow, and once you go to the gym, it's way easier to actually work out than getting yourself to the gym, So the first step is always the hardest, and that's where you have to to switch your mind,
Do you have a mindset of when enough is enough? Do you have a mindset where at such a step in your life, you're on the second step now, but maybe this step 3 is you're having enough money that you think is enough, and you're like, okay, I'm going to buy my time back, and I'm going to focus on building a family and children, and I'm going to dedicate myself for something else. Do you have this mindset, or life never ends and chasing things never ends?
Chasing things never ends. Never ends for me. But my focus on where I'm putting my time and my energy in life, I'm going to go through different phases, and I'm very aware of that. So I had my first phase when I was in the military. I was focusing everything on my mindset, everything on my physical capabilities, hardening myself, turning myself into a masculine man that was strong, that could, be the rock in my family, be the mountains that my future wife emotional waves could crash against, And all the things that I was focusing on there, I still have that in my backpack. And now I'm putting my focus more towards business. I still, of course, have the physical aspect of it, but that's something I'm, going to do every day until I die. But now my focus is on business. And once I have that sorted in, however many years, then my focus can be towards family. And I don't want to have kids now, because then they would be my priority. And my priority needs to be business right now, so I can take care of my future family and I can take care of my kids. And I won't have to worry, what are we going to do if something happens? Where are we going to be? What if we want to go on vacation? What if we want to buy something? Whatever. It needs to just be in place. And I want to have freedom to do whatever I want. And I want to give that to my family as well and the people around me. And then once I have kids, they're going to be my focus. And then teaching them about the world that they're in, shaping them, helping them grow, seeing them grow, that's going to be my main focus. And then, once my kids are grown up, and that's too many years ahead. I'm not going to think that much.
I'm not going to think about it now.
Let's get some kids first.
There is this book that I really loved. It's called The Second Mountain, where he talked about that everyone gets to live climb 2 mountains. The first mountain is about climbing the ladder of success, trying to achieve this human character that you can you can build wealth with, and you achieve this like higher job or like whatever the title is, then you reach the top and you feel like that's not how it cracked up to be, and you don't feel the fulfillment for all the things that you're doing. Then you fall to the river where you kind of have some realization that a family matters, and you try to climb that second mountain the second mountain is all about family, is all about prioritizing families over productivity. It's all about all the things that you used to ignore. You would even feel bad about the times where a friend needed you and you need to have an extra 10 minutes of productivity, and you would turn him down and stuff like that. I want you to describe what a second mountain for you looks like.
I don't really look at it like I have a second mountain to climb. I more look at it like I have one mountain where I'll never reach the top, and sometimes it's going to be easy and I'm going to be walking, and sometimes I'm going to be climbing, and sometimes I'm maybe going to fall down and hurt myself. Then I'll have to walk around that part. But I'm always moving in one direction, and that direction is to be the best that I can be and to live a life of purpose. And my purpose has been for the last years to create the best version of myself so I can be the best husband for my wife, father to my kids, son to my parents, brother to my sister, friend to the people that are near me. And there's a lot of aspects that goes into that. You know, I keep mentioning these pillars. It's the way that I view life, right? That you have to have built yourself, especially as a man, in several different aspects, but you can only focus on a couple at a time. Where you have your mindset or your mind, you have your health, you have your physical capabilities, you have your relationships, and you have your finances. And if you try and focus on all of these things at once, then you're not going to be able to do it. You know, people that became world champions in a sport or became really successful in a business, they put all their focus into that. I'm not out here to be, you know, the next Jeff Bezos or something, because I don't think he is enjoying his time with his family, and I don't think it's a priority for him. He has other things that, you know, motivates him to move forward in life. But I would prefer spending more time with my family. So I know that becoming a, you know, let's say a trillionaire, maybe if he becomes that, like I'm not going to be going for that, because I know that then I'll have to say no to my kids' birthdays or my kids' soccer game or whatever it is, right? And I want to prioritize that because I'm very aware that the relationships that I have and I'm going to get is the most important. And it's going to sound kind of cheesy, but, you know, the most important thing in life is love, I think. And I'm not afraid to say to my friends that I love them, guy friends. I'm not afraid to kiss my mother and tell her that I love her. And I feel that it brings me so much joy to be able to share my feelings with the people around me. And I'm very conscious about actually also telling my guy friends that I love them, you know? Of course, I'm not going to say it to everyone.
I love that so much. I love that so much to the point where I realized this here, where I used to not be comfortable telling a guy friend that I love them, because back then it would feel like it's like if you tell me that you love me, you're gay.
Yeah.
That's like how do you feel about? It's like I love this here so much here in Bali. Everyone is like, "Hey, I love you," and to be, since I had this childhood where a close guy friendships seems gay, like you're gay, like why do you tell me that? how did you switch from feeling like this to like being loving and being having this expression of love, and it wouldn't feel comfortable?
Yeah, I think you have to be really conscious about the person that you also say it to, because it's also a cultural thing. Like where you come from, where the childhood that I had, my dad would tell me that, he was proud of me, that he loved me. And that also made me emotionally ready and capable of saying it to others. Where I have friends that, they were not told by their parents that they loved them. And then when I told them that I loved them, they were like taken back by it. And it meant so much to them. And I saw the joy that I could give to another person simply by saying how I felt. And that was really powerful. So I also make an effort of saying to people, praising them for things that matter. I don't want to just say something, that if you give a compliment and it's not authentic and you can feel it, If a friend or a stranger says, oh yeah, I really like your outfit, but you can see that it's like there's holes in your shirt, you have spilled like coffee or whatever.
You can feel it.
Yeah, like that it's not real. And then it's actually going to be negative instead. But getting a real, authentic compliment is like the best.
I want to pick a little bit your brain more on to family stuff. So I want to know how I really like your mindset around food. You eat extremely healthy and 12 eggs more in breakfast, and that's super extreme. And also the workouts that you used to have in the military. I'm not sure if the military workouts are similar to what fitness workouts is, but I would like to know, how would you structure a family? I'm sorry if I'm making it seem like building a business, how you structure a family. I would put this here and that. But what are some systems that you would implement in your family, and how can you structure your life around it?
Well, the first, most important thing is who you choose as a partner. And I believe it's the single most important decision that you'll ever make, is who do you decide to have kids with. Because when you decide to have kids, suddenly they're the first priority in your life. You're like a second tier priority in your own life, because you have to that should be how people feel. It's not everyone, but that, it should be how people feel. And if you're not on the same wavelengths as the partner that you've chosen to have kids with, then it's going to be a bumpy road. So I think it's so important that, of course you can't agree on everything, but the most basic things, how to eat, how to communicate, how to be around others. And those aspects in your life is so important that, you need to have taken care of that before you enter into, having kids. And the way that my dream scenario for a family going forward would be sort of more traditional, where I, as the man, take care of a lot of the external things, and my partner, she would take care of more of the internal things. And that's, I would want her focus to be mostly on the family, and then not so much on having a very
corporate life.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, where she, if she was a well-respected lawyer and she needed to spend 80 hours, on her job or on her business, and I also did the same, it wouldn't correlate into a good family dynamic. So I'm not saying that I only want my wife to do the cleaning and the cooking and all of that. We can hire a maid to clean. We can hire a cook, whatever, doesn't matter. But I want her to bring connection, closeness, and love and nurture to our kids. And, she's bringing all the love and I'm bringing the lessons, But in order for me to give my kids lessons and learn, get them to learn about life, I also need to do life. So that could, for example, be me if I'm going out and going out 3 weeks through the Amazonas, with the 2 other guys and a guide, and just trekking for 3 weeks, killing an anaconda to get food, whatever, right? That's something that,
stuff.
Yeah, that's what I would want to do, And then she needs to be okay with me being away for 3 weeks. It needs to be able to function with the whole family. Then when I come home, I can, I will have some lessons for my kids where I can teach them something about life, how to approach life. And I'm also very conscious that I want to spend a lot of time with my kids because they're my kids, and I don't want the school system to raise my kids, or TikTok, social media. Like, it's my kids. I want to raise them. And so I also want to put time in them. That also means that I can't I can't start a business and put a lot of time in my kids. It's you have to choose one. You have to choose your focus. And so I have to do that now. I have to build a really good base, and then I can focus on family. Yeah.
That's a really tough one for a lot of women to not be around. A lot of women would find it. I've spoke about it many times to my female friends, for example, and they would always disagree with the idea of the dad not being around, which doesn't make sense because most of the parents, the dad is literally the second mother, and you wouldn't want that. You need experiences, but it's very uncomfortable to not be around. It's for a woman to be alone by herself. That's why it's really hard to find a partner.
Tell me about it.
I don't know where I was going.
But yeah, for sure. And it is getting harder because I feel like some, and I'm generalizing here, but some women have an idea that, they want a masculine man. They want a traditional man who can provide for them, be strong, all of these things. But they don't want to fall into the feminine role of the traditional role. And they don't want to cater to that whole traditional relationship. They just want the benefits, and it doesn't work like that. It has to be a give and take. And yeah, it's just so important that you figure out fast, what do you want? And then how do you aim for it? And, I want a really good partner who can support me and who can, I'll take care of everything. If she wants to work, she can work, of course, But I also, it's not okay that she wants to work 100 hours every week, because then, all of the internal stuff with the family, that's not going to be whole together, So it's just important to get those things out of the way quickly.
What are your traits to a feminine woman too? Because I think that's very different from the common man and the high value man. What are your traits for a feminine woman? What is a perfect woman for you?
A perfect woman?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. Yeah. The most important thing I feel when I look at someone who I want to have as a life partner is that she can be a good mother. And for me, being a good mother is caring, nurturing, and having a lot of love to give. If you have a mother and she doesn't have love to give to her children, the children are gonna suffer from that. So, she needs to be able to have a lot of love. And she also, I want her to be happy. And of course, I would also prefer a very beautiful woman. That's also a divine feminine, very, very feminine woman in all of those aspects. But I would say my definition of being a good mother, with the nurture, the caring, the love, that's definitely the most important. And then there are other aspects. For example, she needs to want to take care of herself. And that means both doing fitness in some aspect, if, it can be anything, but taking care of her body, taking care of her mind, and being conscious in the decisions that she's making and not just being reckless. I see so many young women out now, and they're just, you know, flashing everything everywhere. You see like girls doing OnlyFans and stuff. And personally, I would never be with someone who's done that. And I just feel so bad for the young girls that do that now to get their attention and get a quick buck, because I just know how much that's going to hurt them longer when they want to start a family, because a really high valuable man is going to look at that and say no. And, you know, it's just setting themselves up for failure, I think. And yeah,
I think a lot of people care more about the likes, but this is a realization I've made with my personal brand, because at some point I was doing content that would reach a lot of people, millions of people, and to a point where everything was growing so fast, and I was like, wow, so this is all doing great because of the likes. And I started making content around likes. So I'm craving for likes, and I realized 6 months later that I'm literally creating not really valuable content. I'm doing some edutainment. It's like I'm posting about some like how to curse someone out at work. Like, really?
Yeah, okay.
That would get likes. So then I realized this is not how I used to do. This is not fun. I'm literally chasing likes, and they switched my attention from judging my content based on likes to the value and education, going all in with education. I would never post something that is not adding any value to someone. Not funny, nothing. And I showed you the graph this morning. You can see how the graph was like, my reach was dropping down, and just this week, since I applied this strategy of literally just educating people, and it went up again. And that's the thing with girls as well, is that when you chase likes, nothing good comes from likes. It's like they're chasing likes, and they're seeing this attention that is actually from people who like not high value people. Like, no one's gonna be proud of what you're doing. These community of people who are engaged with your stuff are not people I can have a conversation with. You know what I mean? So they go to that rabbit hole of just changing likes, and nothing good comes from that. And that's exactly what happened to me. I'm not doing OnlyFans, by the way. No, but if there is something that has education, I would go all in with it. But I want to know if you believe in this traditional school education system, and how would you do that with your kids? Would you do homeschooling? If you would, how?
I really like that question. Yeah. No, I don't believe that the school system is set up for people to live up to their potential. I believe that the school system is set up for making society run, and, we need everyone, and everyone needs to have their place. And I could see the implications that could arrive if, everyone was taught to go their own way, because then society would be anarchy and the government wouldn't have as much control. But I can just see so many kids that are being forced to go into a school and learn stuff they don't care about, learn stuff that is not going to benefit them, or, maybe it would benefit them, but they're learning it in a way that they can't take in. Everyone has a different way of learning. For example, one of my good friends, we was just talking about this yesterday, he learns by reading. I learn by watching videos where I get the visual input, I can hear it, and I can read, on the screen or something, because then I remember it better. But, when I was sitting in school and I had to read stuff, I wouldn't remember it. And then I would go home and I would watch a YouTube video, and then I would understand it immediately. And I just think it's so important that you cater to the individual instead of just mass producing. And I know that's very hard to do on a large scale, but Yeah, I definitely want to do it for my kids.
I was talking with my dad about this, and he said that he had a friend that he did homeschooling to his kids, and they can literally solve complicated math problems at a really young age. That this stuff that you can learn in high school, and it seems so cool, but it's really hard. Like how would you go about it? How would you start homeschooling for your kids? Like, do you need to hire teachers? What kind of teachers? What are the things that you need to teach? Should you teach math? Is math important? Of course. But what would you teach? What would you focus on?
They're really good questions, bro. Yeah, I love those. yeah, that's really good. And yes, of course, there's some fundamentals that, you know, you need to learn. You need to learn grammar. You need to learn math. You need to learn physics, for example. But there are also, and you know that you also have that in school. But I just think that the focus is towards getting an education, where I think it should be more towards learning how to be part of the world that you're in. So, you know, I didn't have a subject that was called money. I would have liked to have that, because I didn't understand fractional reserve banking until I looked it up myself. I didn't understand monetary policy until I looked it up myself. Like, I didn't understand taxes until I looked it up myself. And it's like part of every single day of your life, part of how you do everything. If you don't know how money works, how will you be able to do anything? You know, then you'll just be a working slave all your life if you don't understand it and you don't know how to position yourself. And I definitely want to give that to my kids. And also a subject like, for example, human relations. I would have loved to have that in school, to learn how to speak with people, to learn how to interpret others. And, you know, we just read the same book, like How to Win Friends and How to Influence People.
Really good book.
It is a really good book. And there's so many key points there that I would have loved to have as a kid, you know. And all of these things, they could have just improved your life if you were taught it at a younger age. And now, you know, we're in a position where we're seeking out all of these different things. We're focusing a lot on personal development, but some people aren't. And some people are never going to learn that, you know, and that's just such a shame. And I would never want that for my kids. I would want them to understand the world that they're living in. Everything we see around us is built by other people. And a lot of people aren't aware of about that. The roads that we're driving on, the cars that we're driving in, the money that we pay, it's just the paper. We just, you know, accept that this is currency, you know, and coffee, all the food, you know. Look at the 10,000 years ago, how different life was. All the buildings, everything, you know, that's something, someone laid that brick. But if you're not aware of the system, how can you position yourself good in that position, or position yourself well in that position?
Oh man, I wish the most important topic I wish I had learned is taxes. And you know this story that happened to me where, as a young kid, you start to learn about how to make money, not what is money.
Yeah.
So I was trying to make money, you make money, and I don't know what taxes are. I don't really. I would give someone 25% from my money for what? What are you doing? And I was just like working and saving all of this money, and then boom, hey man, we're freezing your account. You need to pay taxes. Oh wow, what is taxes? So it's like I learned this from experience. But then I started to learn, like, from a topic to another topic, from money to taxes to inflation to crypto to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And now I have a full understanding of how money works and how the world works. But how would you, with this understanding in mind, how would you break free in this modern world? How can you be less of a target? Like, even if everyone's trying to discredit you or push you down or like to get you out of the country, how would you go about it?
Bro, I love these questions. I love these questions so much. And it is a really important thing that you have to think about, because where you are in the world matters so much. It matters for you, it matters for your family, everyone around you. And I believe that the best way to sort of like break free from everything, sort of break free from the matrix, you know, is not to move away from everything, but move more towards it. So I don't believe that you can, you know, get yourself off the grid now. Our world is, you know, has expanded all over the planet. You cannot just go somewhere and say, I'm going to live here. Like, you just can't. So instead, what can you do? You can move yourself, you can put yourself on so many different places on the grid that no matter where they shut you down, you'll always have another place to go. So if you have 12 passports and 10 driver's licenses and companies in all of these different, you know, countries, areas, all of this, money everywhere, nothing's connected to your name, then you're basically untouchable. And unless you get put in prison and like held down, you know, then you'll obviously stay there. But if a country says you can't be here, okay, well, I have a passport, I can just go somewhere else. If you get stopped, someone takes, you know, the police takes your passport and your driver's license, fine, I have another one. So it wouldn't matter. But for the average person who, you know, if they got their passport taken, it wouldn't matter everything, you know, they wouldn't be able to move. So I believe that if you have money everywhere and you have the ability to move everywhere, then you can be free. And then the question is, how do you achieve that? And I believe that the best way to do that is to look at the world as it is right now and then position yourself for what's coming. And a really good opportunity that is happening right now is the bull run. And if you can position yourself well in that, then you can turn very small amount of money into a large amount. And then once you have that, once you make your first million, it's much easier to move forward and then create your second million, you know? And the way that I am going about that is, and the way that I would say anyone should go about that, is get a high earning skill, make money with that, and then figure out how to multiply it. And as I just mentioned, crypto, it's going to boom within the next, you know, it's like the halving just happened. It's the bull run is starting now. And then, you know, sometime next year in the fall, that's going to be like the peak of the bull run, if it, you know, turns out the way that it has been before. And if you can capitalize on that, you're going to be set up for life. It's a digital gold rush. And so you get a high income skill, you make, let's say you make 10 grand, and then you position you well in the bull run. Within 1 year, you can basically be off, you know? And then you can multiply that. It's much easier to turn 1 million into 2 than 0 into a million.
I can't wait for all these banks to fail, man.
Bro, same. And I'm speaking with people about how the dollar is doing. And, oh no, the dollar is so safe. Like, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention to where the world is headed? Like, the world is headed for CBDCs. And everyone, if they haven't positioned themselves within the next 5-10 years, they're going to be locked in a digital prison. Because CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, they are coming. They're already introducing them. They have introduced them in China. They have already, they're introducing them in the European Union. The Commission has their final vote on it this summer. They voted for it last summer. The US have also, you know, the Federal Reserve have, I think it's 2017, they started working on this. So, you know, with the SWIFT system, the banking system, everything. And then, you know, people that aren't paying attention, they just don't know. And then they're thinking that it just, you know, oh, it just happened from day to day. Like, no, this has been many years in the running. And everything is going back to social control. Because once they have the government, instead of having a fiat currency like dollar now, when you have a CBDC, then you have ultimate control. All the money is centralized. All of the money that you have is connected to your personal ID. And then every social media platform will be connected to your personal ID. Then they can, if you say something about the government they don't like, they can just freeze your bank accounts. That's, yeah.
That's what happened.
And it's what's happening in China right now.
Yeah.
You have the social ID.
That is literally on some places when COVID happened, you can literally, if there is a COVID in some areas, it is red area. And if you pass by, they know that you pass by this area. So it's going to appear on your account that you're like red. Yeah, like a red dot on your account. That means that you're not allowed to go out. You're literally tracked to wherever you're going.
Mm.
But how about the average man? Do you think the average man can break free?
Anyone can. Anyone can break free. It's all a matter of how you choose to look at it. And if you choose to say, I can do it, and you work at it, then you can. But if you have a mindset that says, I don't know if I can do it, maybe I'm not worth it, well, then maybe you can't.
This is so cool, man. I really enjoyed this conversation. I wish I could take it for longer.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, bro.